You can't eat any of the fish in this river because they're highly toxic. That's because we're standing on a Superfund site, and by the end of this video, you'll understand how terrifying that is.
This town was built on the greatest environmental disaster of its time. What they did in the mines had consequences.
We're going in there?
Watch your step.
So this is where it happened.
Mercury.
Physical and psychological changes.
Mad as a hatter. It went straight into the river.
Now it's a Superfund site. It's the only thing that can protect us from complete environmental catastrophe.
But first, there's some things you need to know. We're here in the mountains of western Nevada to tell a story. A story of unimaginable riches, the wild, wild west, and the reason why it was never that simple. And it starts in 1859.
Here, in the high-elevation desert of western Nevada, miners discovered gold and silver, and the creation of a Superfund site began. The original discoverers of the ore failed to see its potential and sold their shares, but it wasn't long before others discovered what they'd found: the largest silver deposit in America, otherwise known as the Comstock Lode. The local mining town of Virginia City exploded overnight, and soon the area had its own rush, just like the California gold rush of 1849. Today, it's a ghost town, and you can still go there. Prospectors and mining companies from across America flocked to the desert mountains to claim their own piece of the Comstock Lode. Pretty soon, this boomtown in the desert had its own banks, opera house, and saloons. But like I said at the beginning of this video, it was never that simple. There's more to this place than you would ever see on the surface. And as I moved through the streets of Virginia City, I knew there were still secrets to uncover. And those secrets were born in the mines. Sources say there were over 100 mines on the Comstock Lode, all moving precious ore to the surface. We had to crouch to make it through the narrow, dimly lit mine shaft, and in the darkness, our guide told us about the depths. Even for the brave-hearted, working in the mines was a dubious prospect. A cage elevator sent you plummeting thousands of feet down, and cave-ins, boiling water pockets, explosions, or toxic gases could leave you badly hurt or lying still forever. But what scared us even more is what we already knew about this place. You see, the precious metals didn't just occur naturally in their pure form. They needed to be extracted from the ore somehow, and that's where the chilling part begins. First, the ore was crushed into fine powder using machines called stamp mills. Then the ore would be mixed with water, salt, copper sulfate, and the most important ingredient: mercury. The slurry was heated and stirred in large tanks until an amalgam of mercury, silver, and gold formed. Finally, this amalgam was removed and heated until the mercury vaporized, leaving pure silver and gold. If you hadn't guessed already, what's shocking about this is the mercury. Mercury, also known as quicksilver, is an element with the atomic number 80. It is a shiny, silvery metal that is liquid at room temperature and can evaporate to become an invisible, odorless vapor. It's also an extremely potent neurotoxin. Mercury can cause things like impaired speech, muscle weakness, and kidney and nervous system damage depending on what type of mercury you're exposed to. Check the description for credible sources like the World Health Organization. But in uncommon cases of chronic mercury exposure, it can also cause something called Mad Hatter's disease. Mad Hatter's disease is a condition characterized by changes in mental status, emotional disturbance, gastrointestinal disturbances, and weakness or partial paralysis of the legs. The condition may also cause psychosis, behavioral changes, and other symptoms. The name of the disease comes from the sometimes bizarre behavior exhibited by hat makers during the Victorian era. You see, during this time, hatters used a mercury compound called mercurious nitrate to cure the felt used in hats. Tragically, this often led to chronic mercury poisoning, and thus the phrase, "mad as a hatter," entered the lexicon. Many believe that this phenomenon is what inspired the Mad Hatter character in Lewis Carroll's book, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Obviously, Mercury was heavily involved in the process of extracting precious metals from the Comstock Lode. I couldn't find any historical information about what happened to the poor miners working in these stamp mills, where mercury was used so extensively and routinely vaporized. I can only speculate. In the end, the miners themselves weren't really the ones getting rich from this. Though they were high-paying jobs, most of the wealth generated by the Comstock Lode went into the hands of just a few men, famously known as the Silver Barons.
And they made a lot of money.
We've been expanding deeper into the mountain, of course. The stamp mills have been highly productive. We're employing...
In total, the value of gold and silver mined from the Comstock Lode was over $300 million back then. In today's dollars, that's billions. The Silver Barons were rolling in it. And the thing is, they might not have even known the mercury was bad.
Your mercury, sir.
In the end, they didn't hesitate. They kept mining until the silver was gone. To the bonanza. To the bonanza.
The mining released over 14 million pounds of mercury into the nearby Carson River and other bodies of water downstream, contaminating 330 square miles of land, including several watersheds. This area is now known as the Carson River Mercury Superfund Site. The mercury contamination here impacts the communities and wildlife in profound ways. This area is home to population centers such as Fallon, Nevada, protected areas like the Stillwater National Wildlife Refuge, and is on the ancestral lands of the Washoe, Northern Paiute, and Western Shoshone tribes. The EPA says that it's safe to be here and recreate in the area, which is why it's perfectly fine for me to stand here right now. But eating the fish can expose you to high levels of mercury. Researchers have found fish in this contamination site with mercury levels many times higher than the safe limit for eating, which means that this watershed is home to some of the most toxic fish in the world. So what do you do about a problem like this?
Check out these slides I developed. Enter the Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation, and Liability Act, more commonly known as the SUPERFUND program. Passed by Congress in 1980, managed by the Environmental Protection Agency, and born from a series of environmental catastrophes. These disasters are called Superfund sites, and they're the most contaminated places in America. Superfund is a program and trust that permits and funds the EPA to clean up toxic waste sites across the nation, and hold all parties, including corporations, liable for cleanup costs and damages to natural resources and human health.
Look at this list of priority sites. I mean, there are hundreds that are still being cleaned up, and some they haven't even started on yet.
They're behind. The Superfund program, a piece of legislation that actually holds corporations financially responsible for damaging the environment. Basically, this thing had teeth, and without it, sites like the Carson River would likely never be cleaned up, remaining as scars upon the land and people forever. For example, the Lone Pine landfill. Located in northeast New Jersey, it operated from 1959 until 1979 and accepted over 17,000 drums of toxic chemical waste. Numerous environmental disasters caused its closure, including chemical fires, explosions, and contamination of the surface water, groundwater, and surrounding wetlands and forests. Have you seen this?
The Hanford 100 site.
The Hanford 100 Superfund site, located near the Columbia River in Washington state, was used by the federal government to produce plutonium that was used to create the bomb that was dropped on the Japanese city of Nagasaki in 1945. Back at home, the incredibly inefficient and wasteful process of producing plutonium eventually caused massive contamination of the surrounding area.
You can see the river is right there, right next to the site. The Superfund program is what steps in to clean up these areas when nothing else can. For example, to clean up the Carson River Mercury Superfund site, the EPA has conducted operations such as removing contaminated soil and placing protective caps over contaminated areas. They also closely investigate and sample mercury levels to monitor its spread and limit exposures to contamination.
The Carson River may never be the same, but the Comstock Lode actually led to some positive downstream effects. The wealth generated from the silver mines developed Nevada's economy, helping it become a free state and enter the Union in 1864, contributing to Abraham Lincoln's re-election and the passage of the 13th Amendment in 1865, which formally abolished slavery in the United States. The Comstock Lode also led to advancements in mining technology, and the wealth it produced helped build San Francisco into the metropolis it is today. The Carson River Superfund site is the type of place that gets caught up in legends of the wild, wild west, of lone riders, dueling cowboys, and ghost towns. But legends are just ideas, epic tales with a little bit of truth mixed in. What exists here today represents a fragile truth, that a single piece of legislation may be the only thing preventing an environmental catastrophe caused by the nearsighted pursuit of wealth. So it might seem absolutely insane to try to cut funding for the Superfund program by more than $250 million, but that's what the current federal administration tried to do last year. They also proposed cutting the EPA's budget by 65%. As a reminder, this is the agency that's responsible for keeping our water and air clean. Thankfully, lawmakers stopped these cuts before they were actually passed, but the Trump administration still fired thousands of EPA employees and gutted environmental safeguards. This included repealing standards that limited toxic mercury pollution from power plants. Hopefully, if you've made it this far in the video, that doesn't sound like the greatest thing. Now obviously, this is just one of the many astonishing abuses of power carried out by the current administration in America, but I'm gonna try and stay on topic.
When my brother and I started this project, we had no idea this story would bring us to centuries-old ghost towns, into abandoned silver mines, and deep into the world of environmental policy. It goes to show how everything on this planet is connected somehow, and social and environmental issues are rarely independent from one another. The Superfund Act was passed in the wake of the environmental movement, where immense social pressure moved the hand of the federal government and held corporations accountable for their actions. I'm grateful that the Superfund program exists, because today, this is my home. The Carson River Superfund site is a reminder that the actions taken now may shape the world for the next 100 years.